Hello and welcome to In Focus. I'm Aaron Gooch, and on this week's episode of Inside BU, we're focusing on two buildings' histories that were both significant within the science department. Check it out.
By the early 1950s, it became apparent to the university that old science could no longer meet the needs of the growing science department of the Bloomsburg State Normal School. In the mid-1950s, plans were drawn up for a dual-purpose building. This building was to provide a modernized science department on the first floor and business education offices on the second floor. Work began in the summer of 1958. The building was to be built over the part of the tennis courts on campus. The university decided to name the building after William Sutliff. He originally came to the Bloomsburg State Normal School as a student in 1889 and graduated in 1891. He was offered a job by the university following his graduation and accepted to join the faculty as an assistant arithmetic professor. Sutliff continued to teach at Bloomsburg University until his retirement in May 1937 at the age of 70. However, previously in 1921, Principal Charles Fisher decided the school needed an administrator to oversee academics. Sutliff, of course, was the logical choice to fill the position, although he continued to spend a third of his time teaching. Sutliff was involved in many other functions on campus, such as working with the athletic teams by making their schedules. He loved baseball, and on top of creating the schedule for the team, he also kept score for them. Aside from his involvement in the athletic department, Sutliff also wrote poems. Many are even about the Bloomsburg University campus. He was beloved, respected, and admired by thousands of alumni. And as a tribute to his many years of distinguished service, it was decided in November of 1957 to name the new $500,000 classroom building after him.
Several years ago, I was invited into one of the storerooms in the, I think the lowest level of the Hartline Science Center, where they had some old equipment there that was used for the science classes. And there were several items that were smaller but interesting ones that were used for the instruction in the sciences during the 1960s when science classrooms were held in Sutliff Hall on the first floor. And so these became a part of the archives. And they're just a nice remembrance of sort of the basically relating to the teaching of physics, some of the electrical components of how electricity works. They do show what the teaching of the physics and electrical work was back in the 1960s.
Sutliff was the guest of honor at the 1959 Cornerstone dedication ceremony. He passed away on June 5, 1962 at the age of 95. Sutliff Hall continued to house some science departments all the way up to 1969. In 1987, the building was completely renovated and converted solely to business classes. In 2010, the College of Business raised money to have the building once again completely renovated and modernized. It was then rededicated in 2012. It stands today as one of the best-looking buildings on campus, inside and out. By 1965, it was decided that the first floor of Sutliff Hall was not sufficient enough to provide for the science department and its continued growth. So plans were drawn up for a new building to be completely dedicated to science. The contractors quickly discovered that the construction of this new building was no easy task. Almost every building on campus was built on an empty lot. However, tennis courts and 6 homes that have inhabited the area for decades occupied the area chosen for this new science building. 5 of the homes that stood there were destroyed, leaving one that was picked up and moved down to the southeast corner of 2nd and Spruce Street, where it still stands today. The building, however, was still opened in the spring of 1969, and it was named after the Hartline family. Daniel Hartline was the head of the biology department on campus from 1897 to 1935 when he retired. Hartline's wife, Harriet Keffer Hartline, also taught the sciences at the normal school for several years, but it was their son, Halden Keffer Hartline, who really made the family name. After 40 years of research primarily involving study of the physiology of the eye, Hartline was rewarded for his efforts with a share of the 1967 Nobel Prize for Medicine. While the center as a whole was named for the Hartline family, a fourth person honored was Kimber Custer, for whom the first floor auditorium was dedicated. He had a distinguished career and retired in 1962 as chairman of the science and math department. In 1983, a greenhouse was added to the building for the use of the biology departments. The building has been renovated to keep up with technology. The most significant renovation included an addition in 2010, which included space for labs, classrooms, and offices. To this day, the Hartline Center still stands as the main science building here on the campus.